So today we're going to be talking about Kamaru Usman. Is this guy overrated, underrated, or properly rated? So let's take a look at Kamaru Usman's UFC career. This is it right here. So Kamaru Usman has a stacked resume. Let's just be honest. The guy has got some really good wins there that we are going to talk about. Now, this guy at one point in time was being compared to GSP. I was one of the delusional ones. I don't even know if you will call it delusional. But at one point in time, and I'll tell you what exact time it was, before Kamaru Usman fought Leon Edwards for the second time, I was one of those flag carriers that this guy was better than GSP. In terms of legacy, now I still do stand by the fact of a prime Kamaru Usman would beat a prime GSP in a fight. I still stand by that. My opinion will not be changed on that. But I did, before the Leon Edwards 2 fight, think that Kamaru Usman was the greatest welterweight of all time. He is the second best, not the greatest. But we are going to go through some of his stats, talk about his title reign, talk about his title defenses, his title wins. So Kamaru Usman at one point in time went on a 15-fight win streak. And there you can see some of the names on it. You've got Sean Strickland. He got that really early on in his career. He beat Leon Edwards in his second fight in the UFC. These two fights right here against Sean Strickland and Leon Edwards have aged like fine wine. Moving on, he's beat the likes of Damian Maia, RDA, Tyron Woodley. We're going to get on to that. And then you end up going in to the guy's title reign. Now, obviously, Kamaru Usman is on a 3-fight losing streak. There you can see it here. The decision loss to Khamzat Chimaev I thought was very unfortunate. Now, Kamaru Usman did take that fight on short notice, and it was up a weight class. I thought that fight should have been scored a draw, to be perfectly honest. I don't understand how Khamzat Chimaev got the win, because it's clearly 2-1, but Khamzat won the first round 10-8, so that would make it a draw, if that makes sense. If that fight was a 5-rounder though, Kamaru Usman, I would put everything I own on it that Kamaru Usman would have beat Khamzat Chimaev if that fight was 5 rounds. I think everybody would agree on that. But before that, he then lost to Leon Edwards. I was there live for that fight. Look, I'm going to be honest. Watching that fight live in the arena, I thought Usman beat him. Going back and watching it on like my phone, watching it, Leon Edwards clearly beat him. Then you go on to the fight that kicked off this losing streak for Kamaru Usman, and that was the rematch against Leon Edwards. Look, a lot of people do call this fluky. I understand where they're coming from. It kind of was like a Hail Mary head kick that Leon Edwards did throw. He was losing that fight. He had a great first round in there against Kamaru Usman, taking him down, controlling him. But after that, Kamaru Usman was just beating him up pretty much, and he was cruising to beating Leon Edwards by decision. And then Leon Edwards threw that left hand and then the high kick. I don't want to say it was a fluke win, but all signs are suggesting it's possibly a fluke win. So, like I said, Kamaru Usman did go on a 15-fight win streak in the UFC. As you can see, throughout his career, he's got 20 wins in the UFC. 20 wins throughout his career, 9 KOs, 1 submission, and 10 decisions. Now, let's start talking about some of Kamaru Usman's matchups, especially his title wins and his title defenses. So, Kamaru Usman has beaten 4 former UFC world champions, those champions being Tyron Woodley, RDA, Sean Strickland, and Leon Edwards. Now, let's get into some of his big performances, starting off with this one right here. This fight right here, whoa, I'm zooming in a bit too much. This photo's horrendous, by the way, for Tyron Woodley. This fight right here is one of the best title performances of all time. Doesn't get talked about enough. A lot of people like to talk about, I don't know why my mic went crazy there. A lot of people like to talk about Conor McGregor, Eddie Alvarez. I understand that. That was a great performance. That's probably the best in my opinion, but I am a McGregor fanboy, so of course I'm going to say that. People like to go on about Cody Garbrandt against Dominic Cruz. This was more impressive than what Cody Garbrandt done to Dominic Cruz. That's just facts. If you go back and watch this, Tyron Woodley, a top 3 welterweight of all time, and if we just go back here and look, this is Tyron Woodley before he went in to that matchup against Kamaru Usman. He was on a 6-fight win streak. He had how many title defenses? Well, he had 3 title defenses going into that one, obviously coming off that big win over Darren Till, where he absolutely ruined Darren Till in there, subbed him in the second round. Before that, coming off a really bad fight against Damian Maia, and then the draw, and then Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. Very, very close fights. Tyron Woodley did deserve to win them though, in my opinion. And then obviously him winning the title where he knocked out Robbie Lawler, which was a bit of an upset if I remember correctly. Especially for Tyron Woodley to knock out Robbie Lawler the way he did, especially in round 1, was really, really impressive. This right here is the best win of Kamaru Usman's career, hands down. Nothing even comes close to this. Not the other knockouts that he has. This fight right here, he absolutely broke Tyron Woodley in there. Woodley was never the same after this fight with Kamaru Usman. He absolutely destroyed him. It wasn't even close, which I remember going into this matchup, I thought Tyron Woodley was going to beat Kamaru Usman. I didn't realise Kamaru Usman knew ball. I didn't realise this guy knew game. You know what I mean? I didn't understand that. But yeah, this fight right here, one of the best title performances of all time. Usman's best career win, hands down. Moving on, we get the Colby Covington matchup. Now, this fight right here, we're going to see this guy feature a couple of times. Another pretty bad photo. A nice photo if you're Kamaru Usman. A bad photo if you're the person fighting Kamaru Usman. Look at Colby's face. The guy's face is absolutely destroyed in there. But anyway, Kamaru Usman fought Colby Covington, the heated rivalry. This is one of the best fights of all time in my opinion. Very, very enjoyable. Now, Colby Covington did give Kamaru Usman a lot of problems in both of their fights, and we will get on to that other fight later on. This fight right here was really close. Arguably, Colby Covington might have just been edging it if Usman didn't get the stoppage. This right here was two wrestling heavy fighters that ended up just saying, fuck it, we're not going to be able to take each other down, let's just stand here and have a brawl. And this fight right here, obviously Usman did have knockouts before this, but this is where I anyway started to be like, this guy can crack, because he busted Colby Covington up in this matchup. And if we just go back here and look, this was Colby Covington going into that matchup against Kamaru Usman. The guy was on a 7-fight win streak, obviously coming off that fight against Robbie Lawler. He took that on short notice. He was the interim champion. I know, obviously, his kind of interim, it was weird. So he beat RDA to become the interim champion, but then they give the title fight to Darren Till, and then they give it to Kamaru Usman over Colby. So he technically wasn't the interim champion, if that makes sense. But anyway, Colby Covington, a lot of people thought he was a rightful contender. He smoked Robbie Lawler in there. That is a really good performance if you go back and watch it for Colby Covington. The volume he put on Robbie Lawler just completely drowned him. So he really deserved this title fight going in there against Kamaru Usman. Then if we go back, after this fight right here, we get this one right here. Now, this is Jorge Masvidal versus Kamaru Usman 1. This is the thing with Kamaru Usman's title reign, and we will get on to my opinion about the whole reign as a whole at the end. There are a lot of rematches on here. So this fight right here against Jorge Masvidal, this was a short notice fight that Jorge Masvidal took. This was whenever the world shut down because of the cold. They had this over in Abu Dhabi, Fight Island. This was a bit of a stinker matchup, to be honest. Bruh. If you go back and watch this fight, I don't blame you for not wanting to watch it. It wasn't the best. It really, really wasn't. Kamaru Usman did just kind of, it was boring. He kind of just held Masvidal up against the cage. A lot of foot stomps. That was what really happened in this fight. A lot of foot stomps in there. Now, Usman did say he broke his nose going into this fight. Masvidal said he broke his nose in the fight, as in he broke Usman's nose in the fight. But it was very boring. It was really one-sided as well. Kamaru Usman did just kind of bully him in there, but it was very boring though. Do you know what I mean? It was very boring, and the fact that Masvidal took the fight in short notice kind of gave him an excuse. Now let's look at Jorge Masvidal going in to this title fight against Kamaru Usman. So for the first title fight, the guy was on a 3-fight win streak. Obviously he came back, beat Darren Till. That's one of my favourite knockouts of all time. The way he switches coming in with that combination to put out Darren Till, insane. And then he knocked out Ben Askren with that flying knee, also absolutely insane. And then he moved on to become the BMF champion when he beat Nate Diaz. Jorge Masvidal going into that Masvidal 1 fight was the biggest star in the UFC outside of McGregor. In my opinion anyway, this guy was an absolute superstar going into that, especially after what he done to Nate Diaz. The Ben Askren one really just sent him into the stratosphere, the way he knocked out Ben Askren with that flying knee. One of the best knockouts of all time, if we're being honest. So, was he the most deserving? I can't really remember what the rankings were looking like, but again, he stepped in on short notice. He was a big star. I'm not going to hate that one, to be honest. I'm really not going to hate on that. Now, I think I have these in the wrong order, so let's move forward a wee bit. Then we get this fight right here against Gilbert Burns. Now, this fight right here, what a win for Kamaru Usman. This fight right here, Kamaru Usman did come through a lot of adversity in there. He got hit hard by Gilbert Burns, who's a big puncher and was on a win streak coming into this matchup. Gilbert Burns was on a 6-fight win streak I believe before coming into this matchup, coming off a win over Tyron Woodley where he just beat up Tyron Woodley, and that was Woodley's first fight back after the Kamaru Usman matchup. So Woodley would have been in around the top 3 at the time when Gilbert Burns fought him, and Gilbert Burns put a beating on him. Obviously, these guys were teammates. Kamaru Usman moved to train with Trevor Whitman for this matchup, and he did kind of stick with him after he moved over there. Obviously, Gilbert Burns trains at Killcliff. He still does. So there was that bit of a rivalry in there. Kamaru Usman, this was a real coming out performance for him. Obviously, he had the war against Colby Covington, so everybody really knew him. But the guy was getting a lot of flack for that Masvidal performance. Really put a lot of shit to bed with this one right here. Got caught with an overhand right from Gilbert Burns early on the first round. Didn't go over, didn't fall over. Don't know how they didn't count it as a knockdown. Pretty sure both hands did touch the mat. He knocked out Gilbert Burns. Well, he dropped Gilbert Burns with a jab in there. This fight right here was when you really seen the development in Kamaru Usman striking. One of the best. He's got a great jab. I was going to say one of the best jabs in MMA history. Might be a bit far, but his jab is really memorable. Kamaru Usman's got a really good 1-2. His straight shots are really good. Outside of that, his striking is a bit dog shit, but the power the guy can generate in his lead hand, whether he's in the southpaw or orthodox stance. Now, we know Gilbert Burns, a jab is Gilbert Burns' kryptonite. If you watch him fight, the guy does struggle sometimes to deal with a jab. Kamaru Usman, I believe this finishing sequence of this was he was in the southpaw stance. As Gilbert Burns stepped in, he met him he just kind of met him in the middle with the jab, put him down, followed up with some really brutal ground and pound. He did beat Gilbert Burns up pretty bad near the end. Gilbert Burns was crying, and it was kind of like a weird thing at the end where Kamaru Usman was so hyped after he got the win, and then he looked over and seen his training partner, a guy he's been training with his whole life, and it was kind of like, fuck, I just did that to him. It was crazy. But then this is when Kamaru Usman called out Jorge Masvidal for their rematch. Yes, a lot of people might not remember this. Masvidal did nothing after the Usman first matchup. Literally nothing. The guy did not fight. The guy was coming off that loss to Usman and then went right in there to the rematch against Kamaru Usman to fight for the title.
But what the hell?
Now, in this matchup right here, this is what made Kamaru Usman a real big star, in my opinion. The guy was known, but the way he knocked out Jorge Masvidal, the way he set up the shot to knock out Jorge Masvidal, who you could see was kind of getting a bit cocky on the feet with Kamaru Usman in there. The way Usman just fucking folded Masvidal was crazy. Showed off how explosive and powerful the guy is. The way he stepped in with that right hand. He knocked Masvidal completely out cold. What a good performance that was. Although, did Masvidal deserve the title shot? No. If we're being honest, he didn't. Then we move on to this fight right here, which was the rematch in MSG, and that was against Colby Covington. This fight right here, I think Kamaru Usman was pretty lucky to win it. I think it could have been scored a draw. Obviously, he knocked down Colby Covington a handful of times in the second round, I believe. But 3, 4, and 5, Colby Covington really came on strong in there. I think there's an argument to be had. I don't know if Colby won it, but an argument to be had that it should have been a draw. But after this fight right here, like I said, I was a believer that Kamaru Usman was better than GSP all time. I thought he was the greatest welterweight of all time. And then we move on to this. Now, let's talk about this. Did Colby deserve his not an immediate rematch? He did have a fight before or in between. Did he deserve a matchup with Kamaru Usman second time? In my opinion, again, I can't really remember the complete landscape of the welterweight division. But he came off a win over Tyron Woodley, who was on a 2-fight losing streak at the time.
Bruh.
So Colby Covington went in there, beat Tyron Woodley. He beat Tyron Woodley by TKO, but Woodley's rib went out of place when Colby Covington took him down. Don't get mistaken and think Colby has punch power. The guy doesn't. But that's how he got that win. Woodley was on a 2-fight losing streak though. This is the problem with Usman's title reign, but anyway, then the title reign came to an end when he went in there against Leon Edwards second time. Like I said, look, I don't know if you want to call this fight a fluke. Leon set him up for the head kick, but it was kind of like a Hail Mary one, if we're being honest. But that is the end of Kamaru Usman's title reign. Let's go back to this right here. Like I said, the guy does have some really good names on his resume. His best win, easy, is Tyron Woodley. Do I think Kamaru Usman is overrated? Look, I think Kamaru Usman's title reign is overrated.
Huh?
I think the 5 title defenses, when you look at it, there's 2 rematches in there. The win against Gilbert Burns is great. The first win against Colby Covington is really good in my opinion. Did Masvidal ever really deserve a title shot? You can let me know in the comments. Outside of him being a big name, especially his rematch with Masvidal or with Usman, he didn't deserve it at all. He really, really did not deserve it. And the same can be said about Colby Covington in his rematch. Look, I think his title run was overrated. There were some really memorable moments in there, like the fights with Colby. They were banger matchups, and his win over Gilbert Burns. I think as a whole, Kamaru Usman is properly rated because the guy has a stacked resume. However, in terms of his title reign, I do think that is overrated. But you can let me know your opinions in the comments below. Is Kamaru Usman a top 10 fighter of all time? Is he overrated? Is he underrated? Or is he properly rated? Like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you again in the next one.